Thank you very much. Senator Markey, you're recognized for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2019, I was proud to partner with Senator Thune to pass the Telephone Robocall Abuse Criminal Enforcement and Deterrence Act, the TRACE Act, which directed the Federal Communications Commission to issue critical new rules to crack down on illegal robocalls. The TRACE Act has helped stop some of the worst practices by robocallers, but robocalls remain a plague on our telephone system. My constituents in Massachusetts received over 623 million robocalls last year, nearly 20 robocalls per second. This year, Massachusetts residents are on pace to receive 800 million robocalls. Across the country, Americans are on pace to receive 54 billion robocalls this year. Some robocalls are lawful, but of course, the numbers of unlawful calls are astonishing. To each of the witnesses, starting with Ms. Saunders, do you agree that robocalls remain a serious problem for consumers? Yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Unlawful and illegal robocalls certainly do, yes. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Got it.
Mr. Brickut?
Yes, illegal robocalls remain a problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. These fraudulent robocalls cost consumers tens of billions of dollars every year and undermine trust in the telephone system. That is a serious problem, period. And I want to turn to one particular element of the TRACE Act. The law directed the FCC to require the telephone providers adopt a technical standard to verify that caller ID information was accurate. Senator Thune and I drafted this provision to stop bad actors from falsifying caller ID information, a practice known as spoofing. Robocallers often spoof calls to make the caller ID indicate that a call is coming from a local number. I'm pleased that the FCC has worked expeditiously to implement this provision, but I'm also deeply alarmed by the sheer number of fraudulent robocalls and scams. Robocallers seem to be changing their methods faster than we can adjust. Ms. Saunders, do you agree that the TRACE Act has been helpful in reducing the number of spoof calls, but that robocallers have found ways to circumvent these rules?
Yes, sir, I do.
And Mr. Rudolph, do you agree with Ms. Saunders' assessment?
Absolutely. I know we see less spoof numbers than ever before. We see that the threat actors, especially those impersonating banks, getting real active phone numbers, and also jumping when a bank branch closes down, grabbing that number and then using that number to contact people.
It's unbelievable. Targeting robocallers is like an endless game of Whac-A-Mole, and so far the moles are winning by an astonishing margin in this battle. If the robocallers have evaded the caller ID system by exploiting how phone numbers are distributed, then we may need to adapt our regulations as well. And I want to say one final word about the FCC's robocall mitigation database. Every telephone provider must register with the database at the Federal Communications Commission. And companies that have not yet implemented the caller ID verification system must submit a plan for addressing illegal robocalls. Last week, the FCC took an important step to begin removing 20 non-compliant companies from the robocall mitigation database. Some of the companies' filings were laughable. Here's one. Here's one of the filings right here. Pretty simple to see. It's a blank piece of paper. That is what they have submitted in terms of their compliance with the law. Another filing was a picture of the company's logo. Another provider submitted a document that said nothing in capital letters on the sheet of paper on the website. Nothing. I'm glad the FCC has launched enforcement proceedings against these obviously problematic filings. And I appreciate the ideas that Ms. Saunders has suggested to further strengthen the robocall mitigation database. I look forward to continuing to work with the commission and my colleagues on this issue. It goes right to the heart of the issue that just drives every American crazy every single day. The unwanted robocalls coming into their lives all day long at the most inconvenient times, almost knowing that you're home and you're having dinner with your family to be the perfect time to get the whole family angry at these companies. So we thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing, and we just have to keep our focus on this issue. Thank you all so much for everything that you're doing.
Senator Markey.